Hey guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a classic book review, and the book I have for today that we're going to be discussing is a little bit of a controversial book, in my opinion at least. It has taken over book talk and Instagram, YouTube by a storm. This is a book that is very well loved, but at the same time is a little bit conflicting for a lot of readers, and that is none other than Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I recently finished this book. I was really intrigued to pick it up, considering that I've heard a lot of great things about it. There's a lot of hype about it, especially around the author's writing. And I am a little bit sad and disappointed to say that this was not one of my favorite reads for this year. This is a little bit of a flop for me, in my opinion. But to kind of give you guys some background on this book, this was published in 2021 and it is over 400 pages. Yeah, it's like 430 pages, which is kind of long for a romance. I feel like normally when we see romance books hit over the 400 page mark, either the author will just make two books into a series or a duology, or it's got a lot of, I don't know, extra drama, extra scenes, and that's probably why this book is so long, if I'm being honest with you. This is a romance contemporary fiction story, and Jessa Hastings is the author. She's originally from Australia but has since moved to California with her family. Essentially, the structure of the story, we are following our two main characters, Magnolia and BJ. They are both part of like a London socialite group, if you will. They both come from very wealthy backgrounds. They kind of play in the same circles of people. They come across each other quite a bit due to different like galas, charity events, things like that. It's very interesting to me because sometimes when we get like more wealthy characters that are depicted in romances, it can go one of either direction. Either we have characters that are like stuck up and snobbish and very, very, very selfish, or we have complete opposite realm where we have somebody who maybe has a lot of wealth and then the other love interest doesn't come from money. So there's a bit of like a imbalance between like lifestyles and like expectations for like day-to-day life and things that they spend money on. This, however, both characters kind of come from a similar background, which is very unique. It's written in dual POV, so we get Magnolia and BJ's thoughts and feelings in the story. In addition to that, in terms of the overall plot, so the plot is very unique in the sense that it is a trope that is not written about often. There are themes of codependency. This is a 100% toxic relationship, and I mean toxic of the like 10th degree. There is cheating, there is, like I said, codependency, there's just a lot of like obsession kind of with the other person that kind of leans more towards lust than romance or love. It is very much of like a high stakes romance. Normally what we would see is a little bit of a conflict, maybe at the beginning of the romance book, we would see a couple fall in love or a little bit of an interaction that like sparks an intrigue to know the other person. With this, we immediately jump into kind of the undoing of their romance story. Between Magnolia and BJ, there was some infidelity in their relationship, which has separated them. And now they are left with this question that's on the back of this book here is, how many loves do you really get in a lifetime? And that is somewhat of like the central plot of the book. It's really driving in the book and the writing particularly. A lot of the character actions and inner dialogue really reflects on that statement of, people come and go, but how often do you get to fall in love with that one person who's supposed to be the love of your life? fated to be with you is probably another way of looking at it, and like a central theme in this book. So in summary, that's kind of like the loose premise of the book, is that we're just following BJ and Magnolia, their day-to-day lives, the interactions that they go through, these different like social gatherings, these galas, these events, and kind of the implications of their toxic traits, of their personality, of their decisions, and how that really affects their relationship and their romance, what that means for their future. And yeah, that's basically the best way to summarize this book, I think. The next point I want to bring up with this book is the author's writing. A lot of people rave about Jessa Hastings' writing because it feels like you are immersing yourself into conversations with the characters. It feels like you are part of the scene. You're really seeing the inner monologue of our characters. You're really connecting with them. I did not feel that way. Her writing, the best way I could describe her writing is like, if you ever watch reality TV, especially Love Island, if you're watching Love Island and you think about the way that those people speak, that they have a certain accent, that there's certain slang words, etc., that is like 100% incorporated into this book. And I'm just gonna read like a couple examples for you guys. Here's a good one. Marsali rolls her eyes. BJ Ballantine, Bridget starts, about yay high. She waves her hand in the air. Good hair, great mouth, love of your life. Doesn't ring a bell. I chime. So it just kind of like is, there's a lot of witty banter. There's a lot of back and forth between the characters. I would say about 70% of this book, maybe 60% of this book, is nothing but dialogue between characters. And that's okay. I mean, sometimes we get that with romances. A lot of the context is like fleshed out through dialogue, and I can see why the author would choose to do that. It's just, for me, there were no words that I learned. There was no looking up new words. There was no lyrical writing. There were not many kind of like flowery phrases. It's just like to the point. It is what it is. Very much slang, very much everyday language. And to me, it really felt like I was reading the script of like a Love Island. And if I'm gonna do that, then I might as well just like watch the TV show and get the drama unfold, and rather read it in a book. The other thing I'll say about her writing is that she also includes like some of these like text message blurbs, which we get at like the end of some chapters. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we get some of that, which is kind of unique. Sometimes when authors include texting, it can be a little bit cringy. This, I think, summarizes well like what occurred in the chapter between the characters. We can kind of get a little bit more of a glimpse into the rationale for their decisions and kind of the connections that characters have between one another. So I thought that was done pretty well. The other thing that I'll mention with the writing and the plot, just kind of in general with this book, there are some trigger warnings, just an FYI if you do pick this up. There's drug abuse, there is overdose, there is alcohol abuse, substance abuse, there's cheating involved, and yeah, it is a toxic relationship, so like keep that in mind if you end up picking this up. There are some like dark things that are like discussed in the book that could potentially turn somebody off from picking this up, so keep that in mind if you end up picking Magnolia Parks up. The only other like critique that I have with this book really is the pacing. So the pacing of the writing, there are no peaks and troughs in terms of drama. The whole book is drama. We don't have moments where we're just kind of cruising along, getting to know our characters, getting comfortable with where the plot's going, really sitting in some of their decisions. No, it's like every single chapter has a new piece of drama, has a new thing for a character to cry about, a new fight gets started, a new doubt gets planted in somebody's mind. It really it really strained on me to take it seriously because the whole thing was so drama every chapter was so drama. I was rolling my eyes pretty much once I got to about 30% of the way through the book and I got kind of familiar with the author's writing and the pacing. It really just caused me to roll my eyes. I really did not connect with the characters. I can understand how it could be interesting on paper to follow a wealthy London socialite couple, but we don't need a play-by-play of their outfit choices down to the designer brand, and we don't need drama dripping off of every single page or every single chapter of the book. Like, as a reader, I want to wrestle with the characters. I really want to sit with their decisions, with their inner workings of their mind, and we don't get a lot of the inner workings of the mind of our characters. We kind of do here and there, but we don't get a lot of like glimpses into their personalities or rationale behind things. Because it is such a toxic relationship, it probably would have landed a little bit better for me to get more of that like underneath perspective of what's going on in our characters' hearts and their minds. We don't get a lot of that. It's very surface level, it's very glitzy, glammy. It's a little bit like reading Reddit or a script from Love Island, in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm a little bit disappointed by this book. I'm sorry, I really was hoping that I would have a better review for this, but I think in terms of like recommendations for this, I had a hard time thinking about other books that would kind of fall into this category. I know that there's other books kind of sitting in this series. We have Magnolia Parks, and then I think we have another one after this, which is The Long Way Home, which also follows Magnolia Parks again. And then there's two other books that follow Daisy Hates, which is like another side character of the same universe. I don't even know if I'm going to pick the rest of those up. I think the writing style just wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed. It's not something that I would casually sit on my couch and binge read like in a day or two. It probably took me a good 2.5 weeks to get through this book, and normally I read a book a week, at least 2 books a week sometimes. I found myself on my phone a lot, just kind of distracted. It didn't hold my interest as I thought that it would. So I'm disappointed to say that this was not one of my favorites, but make sure I gave you guys an honest review of Magnolia Parks. I do know that this is highly beloved in the book community. There's a lot of you guys that really enjoy this book, really enjoy the Magnolia Parks universe. Sadly for me, I don't think this lands, even though I'm somebody who loves anything that is written by a British author, has elements of England or Britain involved in it. This was just a flop for me. So that concludes today's honest book review. If you guys like this format, please comment down below, and if there's any other books you'd like for me to review on my channel, definitely leave a comment down below. And thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye!